When was the last time you noticed where your attention was? Not what you saw with your eyes, but what your mind was quietly orbiting around when nobody was watching. Because here is a radical truth. Your life right now is nothing more than the sum of what you've consistently paid attention to. Think about it. Two people can walk down the exact same street. One only sees trash, danger, boredom. The other notices architecture, opportunity, human stories. The street is identical. The lives they live are completely different. Why? Because reality bends itself around the lens of attention. And yet, most of us treat attention as if it were a casual thing, something we can waste, endlessly scrolling, complaining, obsessing about fears. Without realizing, we are training the very lens that projects our future. Attention is not passive. It's a creative force, a builder of worlds. And until you learn to control the lens, life will feel like a random storm, when in truth, it is only echoing what you've chosen to focus on.
I call this principle the law of the inner lens. It says, the world you inhabit is not made of events, but of what you choose to notice. This is not self-help poetry. It is structure. Every second, your brain receives over 11 million bits of information, but you can only consciously process about 40. Think about that. Out of an ocean of signals, you are building your life with a spoonful. So what decides what enters that spoonful? Your attention filter. If your lens is trained on failure, the world will deliver endless proof of failure. If your lens is trained on possibility, the world will flood you with options you once swore didn't exist. Psychologists call this the reticular activating system, a network in the brainstem that acts like a doorman, allowing only certain signals into conscious awareness. But mystics have whispered the same truth for thousands of years. Where attention goes, energy flows. The tragedy? Most people never realize their lens is programmable. They inherited it from parents, from culture, from wounds, from repetition. And now, they walk through life not seeing reality, but only the distorted slice their lens allows. That's why the law of the inner lens matters. Because until you understand it, you're not living in the world. You are living inside a hallway built by your focus.
We were taught to interpret failure as proof of lack. A breakup? Proof you're unlovable. A job loss? Proof you're not enough. A setback? Proof the universe is against you. But what if none of that is true? What if those events were never objective verdicts, only reflections of your current lens? The world is not against you. It's not for you either. It is neutral. Like a mirror, it reflects back the signal of your attention. Look at a mirror. Frown at it. Beg it to smile. It won't. But if you shift your expression even slightly, the reflection changes instantly. Life operates the same way. It does not reward wishes. It rewards states of attention. And here's the mind-bending part. Even your suffering is amplified by attention. You think you're merely noticing your pain, but in truth, you are fertilizing it, giving it roots. That's why some people seem to live in permanent storms. Not because storms love them, but because storms have their undivided focus. This is the reframing. Your problem is not the event. Your problem is the lens. And the moment you understand that, you gain leverage over reality itself.
There is a hidden structure behind all this. I call it the field of attention. Think of it like a spotlight on a dark stage. The spotlight makes one actor seem like the entire play, while everything else remains invisible. The danger? You start believing the spotlight is the truth. You forget the other actors are even there. This is why two people can share the same relationship. One sees only flaws. The other sees endless reasons for gratitude. Same partner, different reality. Your attention doesn't just select reality, it creates it. Because once something enters your spotlight, the brain begins to reinforce it with stories, memories, and predictions. It's like a self-fulfilling loop. Ever notice when you buy a new car, you suddenly see that model everywhere? That's the field of attention at work. The cars were always there, but now your spotlight decided they matter. Here's the invisible mechanism. Your life is not built from what exists. It is built from what you repeatedly spotlight. And here's the brutal twist. Whatever you ignore eventually dies. Not instantly, but slowly, like a plant never watered. Which means the most powerful question you can ask yourself each morning is not, "What do I want today?" but rather, "What am I willing to give my attention to?"
Knowing this is not enough. The lens must be trained. So here are 3 tools to begin reshaping the spotlight. Tool 1, the attention journal. Every night, write one line. Where did my mind spend most of its time today? At first, you'll be shocked. You'll realize most of your day wasn't spent in the present. It was spent replaying the past or rehearsing fear. That awareness alone is step 1. Tool 2, the interrupt phrase. The next time you catch your mind spiraling, worrying, catastrophizing, comparing, say out loud, "This is not where I'm going to live." It may sound silly, but the moment you speak it, you shatter the trance. You remind the brain, this thought is a place, and you are not renting it anymore. Tool 3, the pre-sleep focus. Right before bed, choose one thing you want to notice tomorrow. It could be kindness, opportunity, beauty. Then watch as your brain, like a loyal servant, brings that focus to the surface the next day. These tools are not glamorous,
They won't create fireworks in the sky, but practiced daily, they shift the lens. And once the lens shifts, the entire movie of life begins to change.
But don't expect the mind to surrender peacefully. It will fight. It will rebel. I call this the protocol of mental rebellion. The moment you try to redirect attention, old programs awaken like guard dogs. They bark. Look at the fear. Stare at the wound. Replay the failure. Why? Because your old identity depends on those habits. If you stop feeding them, that version of you begins to starve. So the mind creates drama. It floods you with distractions. It tempts you to scroll for hours, to gossip, to dwell on pain, to magnify what is broken. Not because it hates you, but because it is terrified of extinction. This is the paradox. When you try to grow, life doesn't get quieter. It often gets louder. The resistance isn't proof you're failing. It is proof you've touched the nerve of transformation. Remember this. The rebellion of the mind is not a sign to quit. It is a sign you are closer than ever. This law is not new. It has been whispered for centuries. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What is that, if not a description of attention? William James, the father of psychology, said, "My experience is what I agree to attend to." Not metaphorically, literally. Modern neuroscience confirms this. When you repeatedly direct attention to a thought, a habit, or an image, neurons fire together. And neurons that fire together wire together. That's neuroplasticity, the reshaping of the brain itself through repetition of focus. Attention is not harmless. It is construction. Every thought you revisit is laying down physical pathways in the brain, carving a trail that makes it easier to think again tomorrow. So, when mystics said, "Energy flows where attention goes," they weren't being poetic. They were describing a structural law of consciousness. Science and philosophy converge on one truth. Your life is not shaped by events, but by what your lens insists on amplifying.
Here's the mistake most people make. They dismiss small wins because they're invisible. But micro-victories of attention are everything. You held focus on gratitude for 10 more seconds than yesterday? Victory. You noticed one opportunity instead of replaying one fear? Victory. You resisted spiraling down for a single minute longer? Victory. Each time you win a micro-battle, the brain rewards you. A little dopamine, a little reinforcement. It doesn't distinguish between small and big. To the brain, a shift is a shift. And over time, those tiny grooves of attention become highways. What once took effort becomes automatic. You no longer force gratitude, you simply notice it. You no longer struggle to see beauty, it is just obvious. This is how transformation happens, not through sudden lightning bolts, but through daily drops of attention. Drops that carve rivers. At first, you'll think nothing is happening, but one day you wake up and realize the storms don't pull you under like they used to. Your lens has shifted, and with it, the entire film of your life.
So here is the ultimate truth of the law of the inner lens. You don't attract what you want. You don't even attract what you deserve. You amplify what you notice. And reality, merciless in its precision, reflects it back to you. Every second of attention is a vote for fear, or a vote for possibility, a vote for the old story, or a vote for the new one. The question is not, what do you desire? The question is, where are you placing the lens right now? Because the lens never lies. It will project whatever you consistently feed it until that projection becomes your entire world. So the next time your mind drifts back to scarcity, to fear, to comparison, remember, you are not just thinking, you are building. Choose carefully, because attention is destiny. And if this message resonated with you, let it stay alive by sharing it forward. Someone you know is still trapped in the wrong lens, and you might be the reason they finally see.